Man, being a compound of the essence of all celestial hierarchies, may succeed in making himself, as such, superior in one sense to any hierarchy or class, or even combination of them. Man can neither appease nor command the devas, it is said, but by paralyzing his lower personality and arriving thereby at the full knowledge of the non-separateness of his higher self from the one absolute self, man can, even during his terrestrial life, become as one of us. Thus it is, by eating the fruit of knowledge which dispels ignorance, that man becomes like one of the dhyanis, and once on their plane the spirit of solidarity and perfect harmony which reigns in every hierarchy must extend over him and protect him in every particular. This is said in the Secret Doctrine. In the ancient religion of the Nying there were thought to be 9 steps into reaching Dzogchen. Through a grueling process of losing oneself, a person could discipline their body and mind to transcend to a perfect state of being, without emotion, without pain, without limits. If we think of Dzogchen as being a state of mind, then Sunyata as the medium in which we perceive things, then we can come to view Dharmakaya as the ultimate reality and source of all things. The Nyingma lineage is the oldest Vairochana lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. Nyingma literally means the old school, which represents a school based on the teachings and texts of Padmasambhava, Shantarakshita, and the Dharma King Trisong Detsen. What are these 9 steps? The first step is the Shravakas, or the listeners. It is the first step to understanding dukkha. Dukkha is the defectiveness of life that underlies all forms of suffering, also known as desire. This first step is focused on one becoming aware of the 4 noble truths: unsatisfactoriness, or suffering, the arising or origin of dukkha, the cessation or eradication of dukkha, and the actual path to the cessation of it. It is also focused on the fact that there is no independent self. The stage is an absorption stage, where listening to teachings and meditating on them is essential. It is linked to the Buddhist teachings from Setting in Motion the Wheel of Truth, wherein the Buddha explains exactly what suffering is and how to abolish this from one's life. As Shravaka, one becomes an arhat, or one who is devoid of any dukkha or desire and emotion. The second level of enlightenment one attains is known as the Pratyeka Buddhas, or the independent Buddha. These are the individuals who have the knowledge and need no further teachings. A Pratyeka Buddha is one who commits to a life and becomes a solitary Buddha, one who has achieved awakening through insight into the dependent origination of mind and body. Pratyeka Buddhas lead only solitary lives, and they do not teach the Dharma to others, nor do they have any desire to do so. The third step is similar to the second, but it is an unselfish view of enlightenment. As a bodhicitta, one uses compassion as a means of enlightenment. In the third step, one teaches others by choosing to stay in this life, or in this case, the wheel of rebirth. Through teaching others and bringing others closer to enlightenment, one becomes closer to nirvana. We have now come upon the 4th, 5th, and 6th steps, also known as the 3 outer tantras, Kriya Tantra, Upa, and Yoga Tantra. These are practices that unite the body with the mind to achieve enlightenment. In the previous steps, the practices were absorbing and learning and teaching, but now it is the practices of certain tantras that will lead to Dzogchen. The 4th step, and first of the outer tantras, is the Kriya Tantra. Before, we have learned that no self is independent of another. Now we must learn that all phenomena are dependent on something else. There is no first spark, there is no first cause, and everything is dependent on something else. Additionally, at this level, the relationship between practitioner and deity is essentially unequal. We see ourselves as being deluded, while the deity is worshipped as having all the power to impart wisdom. Basically, this level involves meeting a deity, and in no way are on the same level, but a god or mind impression is introduced for one to focus on and offers a goal to reach. The fifth level in second Tantra is Upatantra. This is a level where the practitioner again meditates on the now chosen Dhyani Buddha. The meditation is to visualize the wisdom deity in front of you like a brother or a friend, and to receive blessings and siddhis from the wisdom deity. The sixth step is becoming the mind impression itself. One is no longer a bodhisattva, but something more, a dhyani. In the steps of Nying, there comes a point where one must focus on a mind impression. We think of this in the Western world to be a god or deity, but this isn't exactly true. The phrase mind impression is used, for it is like an impression of a stamp on wax. The image is not really anything but a representation of the image on wax. But what then is the stamp? In attaining to this step, one must focus on one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Dhyani means the meditated. Translated into Chinese, this means Chen, and translated into Japanese, it means Zen. But what exactly is a Dhyani Buddha? Long, long ago, before the idea of history evolved, there existed a sexless entity called the Adi Buddha, or primordial Buddha. From him emerged the duality which was to be the potential father for all creation. All the 5 Dhyani Buddhas are said to have originated from Vajrasattva himself. It does need to be understood, though, that these Buddhas nevertheless have important physical differences. For example, each displays a different hand mudra, is associated with a different direction, rides a different animal, denotes a particular moment in the life of the historical Buddha, and emanates a different color. Vairochana Buddhism divides the negative delusions plaguing the human form into 5 categories. These are ignorance, anger, pride, attachment, and jealousy. They are said to be the sum total of all factors which keep one away from enlightenment. But hope lies in the belief that the human mind holds within itself the potential to transform these negative traits into positive attributes. In a supreme moment of creative inspiration, which can be counted amongst the highest achievements in the history of human aesthetic instinct, these transformed emotions are visualized as 5 different, beautiful, and splendid Buddhas. Invariably seated upon their auspicious lotus thrones, they are known collectively as the Dhyani Buddhas. This is in consistency with their representations, which they are inevitably shown seated in the posture of meditation, known in Sanskrit as dhyana. The Dhyani Buddhas also represent something common in all humans: emotion. Indeed, the link between one's negative emotions and the positive qualities into which the Dhyani Buddhas transform them can be illustrated most directly through color. It is well known that changing the color of one's surroundings can have a profound effect on one's state of mind. Color also expresses one's emotions. Giving someone we love a red rose, or thinking of the color blue as tranquil, like the sky or the sea. Color is a medium in which Buddhist art gives a tangible form to human emotions, and nowhere is this more explicitly displayed than in the typical representations of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Each of the 5 Buddhas first identifies a specific human emotion, one that leads to ignorance and therefore suffering. Meditating on that Buddha helps one in transforming one's emotion into a positive attribute, bringing about the spiritual evolution required for enlightenment. The first of the Dhyani Buddhas is Vairochana, or King Buddha. He is what one could term as the center of the Dhyani Buddhas, or the Buddha of infinite light. In Tibetan Buddhism, infinite light and infinite life mean the same thing. He displays the Dharma Chakra mudra, which is said to be the mudra that of the original Buddha, which was displayed after the moment of his enlightenment to his followers, where Buddha taught setting in motion the wheel of truth. Vairochana Buddha is then said to be attributed with the wheel, for the mudra is setting in motion the wheel of truth. It can also be identified with the Bhava Chakra, or wheel of life. The other four Buddhas are shown through Vairochana, and therefore he is pure, or white, and usually the center of any mandalas. Like a king to his people, or the sun to the earth, Vairochana spreads light to all that focus on him. His lotus seat is supported by a pair of great lions. The lion is the king of all beasts, and when he roars, all others fall silent. Similar is the roar of Buddha's teachings, in relation to the teachings of which all other voices in everyday life become insignificant and fall silent. Meditating on the image of Vairochana is specifically believed to transform the delusion of ignorance into the wisdom preached by the Dharma. When Gautama Buddha turned the wheel of the Dharma, like a sun, it illuminated the hearts of men and women darkened by ignorance. The second Dhyani Buddha is Akshobhya, or the mirror of the soul. Those who control their wrath when it rears up, as they would a horse when it strays loose, I call the best trainers. Those who do not are common beings. So says the Dhammapada. Akshobhya is believed to transform the human emotion of anger into a clear mirror-like wisdom. With this wisdom, one sees things just as they are, impartially and unaffectedly. Whether it be a red rose or a bloody dagger, a mirror will reflect both just as they are. It does not cast judgment and does not distinguish between the two reds, attempting to hold the first and flee from the second. No reflection in mirror sticks to it, and none repels it. The mirror always stands just as one should, whether the circumstances are favorable or unfavorable. Akshobhya's represented blue color is closely linked to the symbolism of a mirror. Blue is the color of water, and water has the capacity to act as a clear mirror. He makes the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra, or the earth-touching mudra. This gesture recalls the incident just before Buddha's enlightenment, when he was challenged by Mara, the personification of evil or death. Mara was convinced that the spiritual throne where Buddha was sitting belonged rightly to him. Mara challenged Buddha to prove his claim to the seat. Buddha moved his hand to touch the ground with his fingertips, and thus bid the goddess Earth to bear witness to his right to be sitting where he was. She did so with 100,000 roars. The earth shook violently, and thereby validating Buddha's assertion. More relevant to one's interest here is the fact that this gesture suggests confidence, deep-rootedness, and the same kind of determination which carried the Buddha to his enlightenment, in spite of the numerous hurdles which crossed his path. Akshobhya's symbol is the Vajra. The Vajra is the quintessential symbol of Vairochana Buddhism, which derives its name from the Vajra itself. The Sanskrit term Vajra means the hard or mighty one, and its Tibetan equivalent, Dorje, means an indestructible hardness and brilliance like a diamond, which cannot be cut or broken. Vajra essentially signifies the immovable, immutable, indivisible, and indestructible state of enlightenment. Thus is Akshobhya touching the earth with the fingertips of his right hand, the earth too being a symbol of the immutable, the solid, and the concrete. Akshobhya's mount is the elephant. As an elephant places its foot upon the earth with unshakable certainty, so does Akshobhya. It has the same unalterable quality as the Buddha's fingers touching the ground, and the same determination that carried Buddha through his tribulations. Akshobhya is considered the rule over the eastern direction. It is the direction where the sun rises or is reborn each day. It seems symbolic that the Buddha's victory over Mara was a type of dawn or rebirth into nirvana. The third Buddha is known as Ratnasambhava, or the gem of a Buddha. Ratnasambhava is believed to transform the negative human emotion of pride into the wisdom of sameness. This wisdom brings out the common features of human experience and makes one see the common humanity underlying all men and women. It makes one see oneself as others, and others as oneself, organically united in the total stream of humanity. In this state of enlightenment, there is nobody superior or inferior to another, leaving no scope for pride to develop, thereby eradicating the cause of pride altogether. Ratnasambhava displays the Varada mudra. This mudra symbolizes charity and giving to not one, but all beings, great and small. His distinct emblem is a jewel, associating him with riches, and he is sometimes described as the Buddha of giving. But he makes no distinction and gives freely to all. This is a great wisdom known as the wisdom of sameness. All beings are equally precious to him. In whatever the social position, race, sex, or life form, all are made from a common clay. The light of Ratnasambhava shines equally on the kingdom and the dung heap. Meditating on this wisdom, one develops love and solidarity with all life. The wisdom of sameness gives one the clarity of mind to perceive in the correct perspective the 8 experiences arranged into 4 pairs. These are gain and loss, fame and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. These types of experiences always come in pairs. For example, if one pursues pleasure, one will undoubtedly at some time experience pain as well. This is a spiritual expression of Newton's third law of dynamics, namely that each and every action in the universe has an equal and opposite reaction. What is a person then to do? If pursuing one leads to the other, how should one avoid the consequences of one's actions? The only way is to pursue neither extreme, but to follow the Buddha's middle way. Ratnasambhava is colored yellow. This is the color of the earth. The earth gives unquestionably and without reserve. A rich man will receive just as much love from the earth as a simple lotus plant. The earth, like Ratnasambhava, also gives without expectancy of return. The earth gives and also receives all equally. The earth is thus the great leveler. Similarly, Ratnasambhava's radiance dissolves all boundaries of self and the other. One can take this as a message. One cannot give anything. For to give something, there must first be a self that is distinguishable from another. If all are the same, then all is given. The animal associated with Ratnasambhava is the horse that rides over suffering beings with full force. The horse suggests a journey, a spiritual voyage such as that on which the Bodhisattva set forth when he was left in his house alone, riding his faithful charge. Ratnasambhava guards over the south. The sun is in the south at noontime. Its rays are then a beautiful yellow, the light of Ratnasambhava himself. The fourth Buddha is known as Amitabha, the gentle and lovable Buddha. Amitabha is undoubtedly the most well-known and popular of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. In Japan and Eastern Asia, he is very respected and holds a place in more of a Zen-type Buddhism. He is red in color, which in Tibetan Buddhism is the color of love, compassion, and emotional energy. His direction is the west. It is in this direction that the sun sets every night and creates a beautiful red hue throughout the sky. During sunset, the sun is gentle and can be directly looked upon with its magnitude without coming to any harm. As it disappears into the west, the sun is like a proud and fierce king, who at the end of a hard day of his duties turns gentle and kind and allows anyone to approach him. Amitabha is thus the supreme power and energy of nature, cast on an earthly plane, accessible to all. This is the reason he is the most beloved of the Buddhas, stronger and wiser than any king, but gentler than a light breeze. His unique emblem is the lotus. He is thus associated with all the attributes of the lotus: gentleness, openness, and purity. He is thought of when monks chant Om Mani Padme Om. I am, and have always been, the jewel in the lotus. Amitabha's animal is the peacock, which is capable of swallowing poisonous snakes without coming to harm. In fact, the peacock is believed to derive its rich plumage from the poison of the snakes on which it feeds. This symbolism of being open to even poison and turning such an evil venom into beauty gives one a feeling of the purifying and transforming power of Amitabha. This signifies that even one's darkest and most venomous aspects can be transformed by meditating on his image. Amitabha's image carries a simple quality to it. His demeanor is entirely relaxed, and his hands are in the dhyana mudra, the mudra of meditation. According to tradition, this mudra derives from the one assumed by the Buddha when he was meditating under the peepal tree in the pursuit of nirvana. In accordance with his mudra, the essential message of Amitabha is that of meditation. His association with the setting sun suggests the withdrawal of external sense perceptions inwards into higher states of meditative concentration. Amitabha thus provides one with an infinite wisdom that helps one transmute the negative emotion of earthly attachment into a perceptive awareness that all are made up of the same strain. So by meditating, one is able to realize that the object one craves and desires is not separate from one, but already as much a part of oneself as one is of it. The fifth and final Dhyani Buddha is Amogasiddhi, the Lord of Karma. According to Buddhist tradition, Amogasiddhi was walking along, and the Buddha's cousin, Devadatta, who was jealous of Amogasiddhi's power, made an elephant rampage straight towards him. As the elephant was coming closer, Amogasiddhi displayed the Abhaya